ready to ask any final questions. Let me see.
You have 14 minutes.
All right. We do have a hard stop because we only have the venue until 9, so we do need to stop on time. But happy to take any more questions.
I have a question about the concomitant medication. Just want to make sure if I heard you right. You recommend to use the preferred term rather than ATC code.
Right.
So when we do our, tables, we have ATC code, under ATC code, ATC, then under that, the preferred term.
Yeah.
Is that the right way, or we just forget about the ATC code and just?
Yeah, I mean, our general recommendation is to forget about ATC code. Now, you could have a medication of, there could be a medication of interest that you might want a separate table where you look at ATC code, but then you'd have to be careful. More often than not, when you have a medication of interest, you're interested in the ingredients, right? So you might want an ingredient-based table, right? Because if ATC still has that pitfall of some, depending on what it's used for, it could go to different ATC codes, right? So usually medical's interested in the ingredient, right? Maybe not always. So then an ATC code summary wouldn't be wise, and you'd have to do something different anyway. Now, for what I would say your run-of-the-mill medications are just summary medications with the purpose of making sure you don't have any imbalances, that are important to know when you look at your adverse events labs. For that purpose, we say just forget ATC code. Yeah. Because otherwise they're split again, right? So now your meds are split under different ATC codes. It's not meeting the main purpose of the general med table.
Yeah, we had problems.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question, sorry. I have a question relating to medication inhibitors. Did the white paper cover anything about the process of identifying medication of interest? I guess it's not very standard.
No.
Many companies probably still doing manual review.
Yeah.
How they identify medication of interest, how they summarize, how they submit the related information. I think there's a lot of room for improvement.
There's a lot of room for improvement on medications of interest and adverse events of interest. All of those, there's room for improvement, I would say.
Is a little better.
Yeah, if you have an SMQ, if you don't have an SMQ, yeah, you're struggling a bit. But for medications of interest, I think more often than not, it's very manual, which is not good. But I do think ATC codes might still help if you, again, a lot of it is collection and the whole data flow and what people have. But if you do match every med, if you match a med to every possible ATC code and then look at ATC code for your ATC code of interest, that may meet your needs.
Yes, we do that.
You do,
select ATC and print out.
Put it out on the, Now, for the run-of-the-mill concomitant table, not of special interest, I think more often than not, people will find that confusing to see the same med in multiple places, right? So which is why for the general table, we think it's just better to forget it. But for a med of special interest, I think the ATC code probably can still help if you do it right. Yeah, if behind the scenes it's done right. Yeah. But ingredients might go more, right? Because it's just recently with the food drug D3 format, part of FDA's requirement to have ingredients. Doing an ingredient-based summary may end up meeting your needs even better.
Yeah.
And that is now available to us, right? It wasn't until this latest change in medication requirements that wasn't even available to us. But we always have ingredient now. So, yeah.
Okay, I have a question about the example you gave us about the group B. So since the two patient has, the high rise in one of the, for example, whatever parameter, and then the patient will die. And then group B definitely is not the way to cover this.
Right.
So what is a better approach than narrative, or we could put that in, and to show these two patients with less biopsy?
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of the spaghetti plot itself. So these lines, it's what these are, spaghetti plots, right? That just shows every patient data with lines. Some people don't like that because it doesn't give you an answer answer, right? It doesn't,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you know, that's, sometimes stats can only show you the data to help you get to an interpretation, right? I'm not sure we can give them an answer, it's persistent or transient, but I still think it's the best tool to give our people who, you know, it's still a nice way to look to see if whether or not it's persistent or transient. Now, you know, in real life, right, you're gonna have some that are, some that go right down, some that go up and stay up, right? It's gonna be a little bit more of a mix, but that's the real data, that's the underlying data, and then, so the answer is much more of a judgment on whether or not you can say transient or persistent, or you may just need to say mostly transient or some, I don't know, right? But it's probably the better display to give for that type of conclusion.
As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm not from this field, so these might be completely naive questions. I was wondering if is there any standardised format for reporting the adverse events that you identify?
Well, we're trying, in the white papers, we have shells, and I guess the idea is we would get to that consistent format.
Okay, I think what I mean is, so do they go into the study reports, or do they, is there like a data standard, like Adam and SCTM, for example, for including them?
No. Are you saying, are these recommendations as standard? Is that what you're asking, or how they're?
So when you identify an adverse event, are they just documented in the clinical study reports, or is there an electronic way of documenting them, like you do study data in SDTM?
I don't know. Does anyone else know? I don't think so. I think it's just usually study reports are PDF, right? I mean, we're in that. I guess we were referring to it as this digitized paper world. We're in even though it's electronic, it's still a PDF.
Yeah. There's a poster from the preclinical side which talks about trying to define like an additional SEND domain, which is for capturing treatment-related findings. So that
Yeah.
if you go.
And there's certainly a lot of talk about analysis results data sets, right? Which then you have SDTM Adam, but then you can also have an analysis result data set that's the data of your results. That is certainly recommended. We don't cover that in any of our white papers, but absolutely would recommend it because that's what's going to help us get to better visualizations. And a lot of people do that anyway, right? When they make a figure, they kind of maybe make one of those anyway, make a figure. But I think once it gets in the study report, it's just, you know, all part of a PDF. But hopefully that changes, right? This test that we're doing with this interactive display actually kind of ends up being visible in the submission as a line item.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully this all evolves to something better. All right, you see how we're doing. All right, maybe one more. Or,
Question. I'm not familiar with what this work group. I'm wondering if the recommendations of the white papers that you come up with are discussed and approved by FDA.
we're approved is too strong, but they are involved, right? They're co-authors. Like the average of that white paper has 2 FDA co-authors, but not all of them do, right? But they're at least reviewing and they're involved, but I would not say approved. Yeah. Is that Matt? Would you?
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Just a question about you are mentioning the p-values and confidence intervals. So I know we are doing it for efficacy with the primary endpoint. So how effective is compared to with safety versus this? Since we are already doing it for the p-values.
Yeah. So why is it?
Yeah. Is it like a mandatory requirement for FDA or?
No. Right. So the FDA is not saying we need to have p-values for safety, right? So our white papers are saying we do encourage either confidence intervals or p-values to help assess your strength of evidence for an imbalance. So that is coming from the white papers, not from the FDA. But we're all saying, I think the criticism of p-values or confidence intervals is that with safety you're not powered for anything, right? You know, in FPC you are, so everybody associates p-values with the hypothesis, but that's, I guess, the counter argument is, but that's not what we're using them for. It's a hypothesis test. So, but conference intervals are good too, as long as that's helps you to look for strength and balance, and it also helps with an estimate, and and our white papers, our shells actually went the confidence interval way. Most of our shells and our white papers don't have p-values, but the conversation is there in the white paper saying, if you choose to use p-values, you can, but of course, if you use them, it needs to be used as a tool, not as a hypothesis test, right? So I guess the white paper's position is to use either a confidence interval or a p-value or both or whatever to help with that imbalance piece. But nobody's saying you have to use a p-value for safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I think I was trying to get at, the people who don't like p-values in safety, their logic is we're trying to move away from that logic anyway. So that it's not, everybody knows it's not hypothesis testing.
I think, I was just gonna jump in and say, I think some people, it's important educating the people that are using those tables for interpretation, that, the person doing the tables understands it's not for interpretation.
Yeah.
But then the medical writer writing the CSR starts to list all of the p-values that are less than, that's in a p-value. So it's important to have everybody cross.
Yeah, it's very, our goal with this, and hopefully you do share this recording, with your colleagues, it is meant to be cross-functional. I hope it came across as cross-functional education and would be something that you can share with your cross-functional colleagues. So, all right.
So you mentioned like some version of white paper is still undergoing, so which might need some input. So if we want to participate in volunteer work, how do we do it?
Yeah, you can contact me directly, or go through Wendy at Fuse. Wendy at Fuse. Edu. Wendy at Fuse.edu. She can help get you with me. Otherwise, I can just make sure you have my email and we get you involved. Yeah. All right. I do need to stop because we do have a hard stop.